All right. Hello, everybody. Art of Homeownership community. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm really excited today. I've been a fan and a follower and a student of Dave Savage for quite some time. I was kind of late to the Mortgage Coach game myself. We use another type of software, but our team has used Mortgage Coach now for years. The reason we wanted to have Dave on today, and Dave, thank you for being here, is
to be here.
Yeah, there's not many people in our space that embody the value that mortgage professionals should have more than Dave. And as you all know, Art of Homeownership is a high value mortgage platform to allow you to be the most valuable person in your clients' lives. And when it comes to real estate and finance, there's likely a lot of real estate agents on the call watching this as well. So this will work well for both sides. But Dave, what have you been seeing lately? I know you've sent me some text recently on some stuff that you've been doing, but the challenge we faced, I think, in this industry is that we've had this vision that the pinnacle of our relationship between a client and the loan officer is the closing of the transaction, right? That's what all of our hard work and labor has worked towards. We've been able to meet that client. We've been able to show the client some financing options. They've chosen one. We've gotten them pre-approved. We've helped them get an offer accepted. We've helped them close the transaction and ultimately move into the home. And we feel like that's the pinnacle. I want to tell people that should not be the pinnacle, right? The pinnacle of your relationship with a client should be 30 plus years from now when that client reaches a stage of financial freedom or financial security that they wouldn't have had you not been a part of their life in a meaningful way. Now, Dave and Mortgage Coach have been instrumental in helping people with that process for how long now, Dave? With 20 years, 15 years?
Yeah, over 20 years. And then
20 years.
Mortgage business for almost 30.
So what are you seeing some of the best real estate agents and originators in the country doing today to provide even more value? And obviously, please tell us more about Mortgage Coach and how that kind of plays into it as well.
Well, so first of all, some of what's new today, I mean, we're calling the modern mortgage professional, it's the tactics and the tools in which this exceptional experience is created. It's different today, but to me, the difference between the best and the rest has always been that the rest, folks that range from struggling to people that are not optimizing their success. First of all, it's not. They do celebrate the closing of the loan. They do celebrate the receiving of the commission check. In modern days, they do celebrate a 5-star review. But most loan officers, it starts with just celebrating that you asked them for their social security number and they gave it to you. Or you gave them the link to your app and they gave it to you. And you're like, boom, I got it.
Right.
And that, that is a transactional mentality. Now, I'm not to say that though that's not an important step in the mortgage experience, but to me, the most elite professionals and what Mortgage Coach was founded on, in fact, the name of Mortgage Coach, that's not the company name. The company name of Mortgage Coach is Wow Tools, because my personal epiphany in sales came when I learned that the goal was not getting a social security number. The goal was wowing someone, like getting them so like, wow, I never thought of mortgage like that. Wow, no one's ever helped me the way you did.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing that it doesn't make sense to refi. And you told me no one's ever done that before. And so the name of the game to me for the past, I didn't figure it out in my first 2 years in the mortgage business. So not my 28-year career, but probably after about 3 years, I figured it out. And then I founded Mortgage Coach, the name Wow Tools. Before it was called Mortgage Coach, it was called Wow Tools. And it was just, how can you systematically, consistently wow someone in the first 2 minutes of talking to them? And then how can you wow them again 5 minutes into talking to them? And then the name of the game is wowing them throughout the mortgage experience. And then, one of the things I love about your platform, Ryan, and the way you think is, okay, that's just table stakes to starting. How do we wow them the month after closing? And how do we wow them systematically and consistently on a consistent basis every single month for as long as we have a relationship. So those are my thoughts. And obviously, HomeBot is a new tactic and strategy to wow pre and post transaction. A mortgage coach total cost analysis is a modern way to turn rate quoting and pre-approvals into wow experiences. But it's the name of the game is wowing people throughout the transaction in a systemic, consistent way that scales.
I think, on that same line of thinking, one of those of you who don't know, Dave and I will sometimes share books that we're reading, and I read a book called The Challenger Sale, and I text Dave real quick. I'm like, dude, you got to read this. And he's like, I think I've read it 100 times. You're a little late to the game. But that's that philosophy, right? It's you don't want in a conversation, you don't want people to agree with everything you're saying. You want to do something that makes them think differently. You want to show them something that they wouldn't have expected. You want to teach them something that they didn't know. And that wows people. All right. If you just fulfill their order, which is I want to buy that house, or I want to sell this house, or I need a mortgage, you're not really helping when you do that. You're just fulfilling the transaction. But if you go the extra mile and you wow them and you are that challenger salesperson, you really have the opportunity to not just have a client for life, but to have someone who depends on your advice for life, which I think is the key component to what we're all trying to accomplish here. Is we want clients that reach out to us, through our continual, engagement, and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What are your thoughts here? What do you think here? Because we've earned that right. So Dave, on those same lines, like how can we as real estate and mortgage professionals position ourselves as subject matter experts to where, clients are seeing us in that light, not just a provider of mortgages or real estate?
Cool. So I'll give a couple ideas and I'll give a couple questions that I see mortgage coach black belts ask that create that wow and begin that differentiation. Before I do that, I do want to go back and when it comes to auditing your perfect loan process or the perfect consumer experience that you have, what you learn from the challenger sale, that is one technique and tactic for creating wows, teaching people things they hadn't already thought about. And that does create a wow. But I also want to remind you guys, there's other ways to create wows. So for example, 2 high impact points of contact that can create wow is to call someone early in the loan process. And it's, there's calls that you have to make because you're asking for information or they're transactional reasons to call. But how about if you called someone and you had a customer success manager on your team call and just no other reason, not to ask anything, but to say, hey, we really want to make sure this is an incredible experience for you. And I'm just calling to check and see how is it going. And again, that's a wow to a consumer because most lenders, most loan officers don't do that. That's a wow. What if, and by the way, you should ask for a referral. If they say, oh, it's going great, you guys kill it, rock it, strategically ask for, oh, well, can you help me? And strategically ask for a referral. But then what about systematically and consistently calling someone within 30 days of the closing? And I know, Ryan, you guys do this and just say, hey, it's weeks have gone by. You've moved in. We love you. We care about you. So I just want to remind you, there's challenger ways to wow. And then there's high impact points of contact. Not all calls are equal, in a mortgage transaction that created that wow. So getting to your point in terms of differentiation, I always, and Ryan, you teach this. So it's kind of like, I'm just doing your thing because you
don't teach me, teach them.
Yeah. Okay. We'll teach them.
Yeah.
So my favorite question that's beyond the norm, asking people the typical transaction questions. You're a loan officer. Asking people, hey, how long do you plan to live in this home? You're a loan officer. That's not beyond the norm. Asking people, how old do you want to be when you're debt free? And is being debt free on your home a priority? And then shutting up and letting them talk. And then usually they'll either be already trained in strategic finance and, well, I'm investing the difference so I can pay it off, or they're just saying, oh, I want to have my mortgage paid off when I'm 60. I want to be paid off when I'm 50. Okay. Yeah, that would be amazing. And based on the loan that you're in right now, how old do you think you're going to be? And what you'll find is that there's a gap between what they want and what they have. And I've asked that question hundreds of times. I've trained loan officers thousands of times. And when you go through that questioning sequence and you can find a gap between what they want and where they're at, now you've positioned yourself. I mean, I do think there's actually some things in the mortgage coach community where I have loan officer value propositions, and there's a way that you say your value prop. And I do think that is important to differentiating, that you were describing yourself and the service you deliver in a way that's different than a transactional loan officer. Words matter, and that, call it 15-second to 1 minute value prop matters. But I would say good strategic questions that create financial planning gaps matters more. That's where the magic is.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly poignant. I mean, I've talked about this before, but the fact that we will sell someone if it's their primary residence, their home, which is a liability, and then their mortgage was another liability, and we have no concern for their insurance, right? Or they have the right disability or life insurance policies. They don't have their home protected in a estate or a will or trust. They don't understand how to retire with and through real estate, even though 85% of people's wealth is typically in their real estate. They haven't had the conversation with parents or children about generational wealth planning and how to make sure that happens smoothly so they're not making bad decisions. None of these questions are on the 1003, right? Like, none of these questions need to be asked in order for someone to qualify for a mortgage. But they absolutely should be asked, because you can't give appropriate mortgage advice really without knowing the answers to those questions. And so that's why, we ask all those questions. And then when we put together our TCA to be able to show the client and say, here's what we believe is going to be in your best interest, and here's why, based upon the answers to the questions that weren't on the 1003, right? Then you start getting people to say, I talked to another mortgage lender about 2 days ago. Not only did he not ask me any of those questions, but he didn't give me any of these solutions either. And then again, it's a big wow, and it's a big separator. Another thing you said, Dave, what I want to point on is, how can you expand someone's scope, right? So we show them the TCA for the 30 days of the transaction, but then we want to show them the TCA for 5 years down the line, for 10 years down the line, for 20 years down the line, when they're doing a move up and creating an investment property out of their departing residence, when they're, downsizing because they've reached retirement age and now they can move out of state or wherever they want to do. So being able to expand people's scope of engagement with you and how important that is incredibly, important to the transaction as a whole. So have the post-closing call, because the post-closing call after the transaction closes is going to set the stage for the next 30 years of your relationship. Do the 3-month post-closing call, the 6-month post-closing call, the annual financial reviews. Make sure you have your TCAs built for each one of those, and you can even automate some of that stuff. But that's really how you're going to be seen as a subject matter expert, and how you'll get people to lean on your advice and guidance, as opposed to just potentially or hopefully calling you when they need to buy, sell, or finance a piece of property.
Yeah, and we know, and if you just rely on that, the odds aren't in your favor. Even if you give a 5-star experience, even if you have a great marketing campaign and you're giving them messages, they're not going to do the next transaction with you unless they see you as a valuable financial resource on a monthly and quarterly basis. And so
Right.
I think I would just urge every loan officer listening to this, the name of the game in this decade. So we are in a new decade. And if you want this decade to be better than last decade, you need to go beyond the transaction. You need to, it's not get 5-star review isn't the name of the game. It's getting referrals and repeat business. That's the name of the game. So I do want you to start winning, when you get your first referral from a client, celebrate that. That is the biggest celebration of all. When you repeat business, because once you've done one loan for someone, the third, fourth, and fifth all come easier. So that is the goal. And yes, a 5-star review too. So no doubt, and all those questions. And I would just ask everybody who's listening to this, audit yourself. I want you to go back and think about the last 5 questions, and then I want you to ask yourself, how many questions beyond the transaction did I really go? And do I know when this person wants to be debt free? Do I know what this person's wealth building goals with real estate are? And I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, I could go on and come up
Sure.
with 5, 10, 5 things that you should go beyond the transaction. But those are the two biggest. When do you want to be debt free? What are your wealth building goals with real estate? If you do not know that, if you do not have systems in place to consistently bring that value to the consumer, then here's my message. I do not think tech companies and large call center lenders are going to kill referral-based local loan officers. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think the self-serve amount of population that want to do digital mortgage, the Rocket, I think that audience is going to grow, and I think they're going to do really well. But local referral-based lenders are going to kill it. But here's the deal. Local-based lenders that are using technology, that are doing what Ryan and I are describing, that are leveraging media, and they're becoming the digital mayors of the markets that they serve, are going to kill everybody else. They're going to take market share from them. So from a loan officer standpoint, it's just, this could be the best decade of all if you're leveraging tech, the mortgage coach, home bot, house happy, art of home ownership, and if you're creating media and you're getting out there and you're well known. I mean, by the way, Ryan, I want to really give you kudos to you, Josh, and the team. You guys have taken your social media presence to a whole new level, and it looks like you're very serious about being the digital mayors of the segments you serve. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been we have a unique story to tell, man, and we want to make sure that a lot of people know about it. I think that, when we think of competition, I think that a lot of loan officers and real estate agents are looking the wrong direction. I was talking to a real estate agent the other day, and he had a concern about a competitor in the marketplace, and loan officers have concerns about other loan officers in the marketplace. Guys, anyone who's doing our type of business, right, who are dedicated to providing more value to the client, is not our competitor. It's actually someone who we should give kudos to and we should appreciate, because our competitor is click button, get mortgage, right? And you can fill in whatever blank that may be. But when the larger organizations that are leveraging technology and they are vilifying education, when they're putting that message out there, and that's becoming what is more normal, which is, I don't need to learn. I just need to basically insert my mortgage card and get a mortgage, or point to a home and ultimately buy it. That's not great for anybody, right? It's not great for the consumer. The only people are great for are the companies that are making money doing it. So we have to really all use our collective voices to fight back against that and say, look, you need this information. And it likely won't cost you any more money to get this information, right? Like you'll get the same outcome with a much better future. So I couldn't agree more, Dave. I think that we have an amazing next 10 plus years ahead of us, as long as we are messaging that out. And that's why we're doing what we're doing with our social media. I do want to add something on that, because Mortgage Coach, our mission is to reshape how families get into debt in America, go beyond transactional thinking, rate, payment, cash to close, and look at, okay, how do I pay off my house faster and achieve my financial dreams faster? How do I build wealth with real estate faster? And so, our competition is the fee worksheet. Any loan officer or lender that considers status quo fee worksheets, okay, we're here to help them. Now, enterprise clients of ours, and we've got some amazing enterprise clients of ours, they're on our team, and we're just one loan officer at a time. How do we get them from fee worksheet to a total cost analysis? And here's the cool thing. So for everyone that's part of this movement of empowering families with education and advice with the TCA, guys, we're changing housing. We're the Americans that we serve will save more money. The Americans that we serve will have more wealth. They'll have more real estate, and they'll have more financial freedom. So I also would just push out there to get that higher calling, because that's one of the things that there's tactically and intellectually, you're hearing me say, ask this question, and you're going, that's a good question, Dave. But if you don't get a personal why
that goes beyond I'm a loan officer that closes loans, and you really get into, you know what, I'm an advocate for the consumer. I'm a financial advisor. I'm a mortgage coach. If you don't do that, you likely won't get through the pain of change of adopting new technology. So I push everybody to also audit right now, like what's your mortgage why? Like, and is it, can you describe it? Can you write it down? And is it bigger than closing a loan and doing X number of loans per month, per year, and bigger than a P&L? It's literally a movement.
Yeah, I think Simon Sinek would call it a just cause, right? In his book, Infinite Game. So, Dave, on those lines, kind of talking, you touched on media strategies, being the digital mayor of your community. What have you seen? Obviously, you're incredibly well connected with a lot of the top mortgage professionals in the country. What have you seen some people doing that has really excited you lately and has really given them an up leveling and helped their business and helped them be more seen as the predominant mortgage professional in their market?
Well, there's two things that are firing me up right now. And that is seeing loan officers that are using video and social media to educate agents around strategies. We've got a playlist in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel called the Agent Advantage playlist, where it's mortgage coaches, and they're not saying, hey, I'm such and such with such and such lender. Here's a strategy, call me for loans. They're calling and saying, hey, I'm a mortgage coach, and here's a strategy to win in a bidding war. And so I love educational videos that are helping realtors understand that mortgage advisors and mortgage coaches are more valuable than loan officers. I love that. My newest playlist in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel is called Building Wealth with Real Estate. And and Ryan, you're invited. I would love to have a video from you. But I love seeing mortgage professionals that are creating content that are helping families save money, build wealth, make better liability decisions, be more fiscally literate.
Yeah.
Like, I think in the mortgage industry, we're really well positioned to not just help homeowners and want to be homeowners. I think a lot of college students, like with my playlist, like my goal is that the Mortgage Coach Build Wealth with Real Estate playlist is going to be a resource to college professors and college students that want to learn about building wealth with real estate. And I've interviewed a number of loan officers that are killing it on Instagram, killing it on TikTok, have YouTube channels, and they're educating Americans. They're enlightening families around fiscal literacy, and they're using social media. Mortgage Coach is a teaching tool within the overall movement, but I'm really pumped on that type of content. And if you are someone who's creating that type of content, I want to know you. And if you're a mortgage coach that's creating that kind of content, I would love to have you create some content for either our Agent Advantage playlist or our Wealth with Real Estate our playlist.
Yeah, I love that. Have you had a chance to see the Bulletproof Buyer presentation?
I don't think I've seen that. Like, am I missing something?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, have Josh and Mark Robertson and a couple other guys can help you. I did the presentation for about 60 agents the other day, and it was just unreal. It's basically the 4 steps that a consumer needs to go through in this day and age. One is understanding the why behind the real estate market. A lot of people think the real estate market is happening to them, especially if they're not, in it already. And they can't wrap their head around the fact that, it may not, like most people think housing market's going to crash, there's a bubble, blah, blah, blah. But the data that we put out there, a lot of it through Keeping Current Matters and other sources, just clearly indicates that we're not going anywhere anytime soon from a real estate housing perspective. Second part of it is the financial awareness of the consumer, right? To really get them to understand renting versus owning at a high level. We use total cost analysis to show them what their next 5 years of renting might look like versus owning, even though owning a home feels like buying a home right now feels scary.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. It's like
the same word. Yeah.
Right. It's hard to jump into the market right now, knowing what it's doing. And then the third part of it is, getting fully approved, making you look like a cash offer, and then ultimately helping with appraisal gap strategies, again, using total cost analysis to show kind of what that looks like. And so that 4-part strategy. And then the 5th part is using Art of Homeownership's relocation services where they can buy their new home all cash with their third-party financing company, and then they have time to sell their departing residence, so they don't have to be stuck in their current home. So it'll be cool to add to that playlist of yours. I think it'll be great.
I'll check it out, and I will put a caveat: the playlist that we have, I'm trying to keep it so that the videos are under 5 minutes and even under 3 minutes. Because remember, one of my goals is to get college students educated on fiscal literacy. So to me, what you described might be a couple videos within at least the playlist. I want it to be a lot of quick hits that are edutaining. They educate, they entertain, and they're just quick, short, simple concepts. And anyways, I am looking forward to keeping that conversation going. I will keep an eye out for that presentation. I can't wait to watch it.
Love that. Well, Dave, one of the things I've been excited to ask you, knowing that we had this coming up, is you are probably the most well-known in our industry for providing value with no expectation of anything in return. And I've always really admired that about you, as everybody has. You're super giving. You are a great connector. You obviously have built an incredible business that's valuable for all of us. I know my answer to this, but I'd love to know yours, and I'll kind of go after. I believe that the modern mortgage professional and modern real estate professional should have the same exact way of thinking, right? That we should give value with no expectation of a transaction. Am I correct in that? And in what other ways should we be looking at giving our time and energy and giving value without always thinking what's in it for me?
I've been asked that question a couple of times lately, and I also got asked from a friend of mine, a good personal friend, like someone that I love, who had a child. One of his kids was getting in sales, and he's like, Dave, what? First of all, we all know what it's like to try to get your kid to read a book that dad's recommended. And so that's a challenge all on its own. And he's like, what books should she read first? And it made me go back to when I started in sales, and a couple books that I read that had a real foundational impact on my values and my beliefs. One of them was How to Win Friends and How to Win and Influence Friends and People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was a book I read in my 20s that really had impact on me. And then another one was How to Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. And I read those at super formational times of my life that anchored some values when I was very moldable. And some of the things that, they're just core to my soul, is that, I believe the more people I help, the more I give, the more I get. Like, I believe that as a foundational principle, which is kind of selfish. So like, I'm helping people because I get more, but I think you need to have that. And I've also, at a foundational believe that, the more people that I grow and I develop into leaders, that's how I build profitable and successful companies. And then and remember, I'm not just a mortgage coach. I'm not just a SaaS entrepreneur. I look at my P&L all the time. I look at my balance sheet all the time. But my number one metric isn't the value of a consumer. It's not my retention rate. Those are very important metrics in mortgage coach land, so I don't want to underplay them. But it's how many families are getting a TCA. And it's the change. Like, my goal is to change how people get into debt in America. And by the way, because I have a bigger goal than the profit, running the P&L of mortgage coach, it puts me in a place where, well, I need to turn a lot of people into leaders. So I need to interview people like Ryan, like Josh. I need to, interview those people to help change the industry. So my message to you is, first of all, have a self-talk with yourself on how abundant are you really. And by the way, that's another thing. Because of some of those books I read at those formational days, I'm always default abundance. So I've even had people on my own team. Well, we don't want everybody to know who our customers are because our competition is going to call them, and and I'm like, that's not abundant thinking. Done. Even if they're right, and even if it's not good for my P&L or risk my P&L, I'm going to default to abundance. I'm going to, live and die by the sword of putting others first, live and die by the sword of, help. The more people I help, the more successful I become. And then, I think when you have those kind of foundational values and then you have a why that goes beyond the P&L, it just happens. And that's my story.
I love that, man. First of all, those are amazing books, and you've learned well from them because you're embodying it at a high level. Guys, one of the things that I realized, it took me quite a while, but when we started telling our clients we don't actually care if you buy, sell, or finance a home, and we actually meant it, it opened up a whole new level of connection with our client, and it made us relatable to the point to where they would listen to us for the rest of the time without bias. And so I don't say that as a sales technique. I don't want anybody to write it down as a script. It has to be a belief system. And that's really why we created Art of Homeownership, is because, for those of you who are on the platform, you can give the Art of Homeownership platform to anybody, and you're investing in them, in their future, to help make them better. Now, if they buy a home or sell a home or finance a home and they use you, awesome. They likely will. But if they don't, and you've just helped them get better, then that's all that matters. So make sure when you're talking to people, you don't come across as, I'm interested in helping you with the transaction. You want to be more interested in helping them with their level of success in real estate and finance. Same thing with your business partners, same thing with your employees, anybody that you're a leader of or you're helping lead. If they can have that go-giver mentality where, if you give it away, it will come back in spades. I think Dave is a great example for us to follow there. And Dave, we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And I would love, I just noticed the comments. So what's up, everybody? And I would also just love to know what are some other great books that people are out there reading right now. I know Josh had actually texted me the other day. Him and I went back and forth, exchanging a few books. I recently, I'm kind of embarrassed it's taken me this long, but I finally finished Shoe Dog, which was mind-boggling. I've been referred that book for, I don't know, several years now by people that I trust, and maybe it was just too big and it was too long. I listened to the audiobook, but I mean, must listen to. And I know Josh just turned me on to Full Engagement, which I'd actually read that book. Well, in full disclosure, I skimmed that book many years ago. And like, okay, I got it. But now I'm listening to the whole book. I'm doing the audiobook right now. It's so good. But, that would be the other thing I would tell folks. To be a servant leader, you do need to constantly read. You need to constantly learn. I am dyslexic pretty significantly. So I listen to audiobooks and podcasts a lot more than I do read. But I would say without my commitment, my lifelong habit of doing that, I don't think the abundance that I have, the giving heart that I have, it wouldn't be the same. I would, you got to read. You got to constantly fill your brain with positivity and good things that drive your beliefs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A couple of books that I read lately are by Jay Samit. I don't know if you know Jay, but he wrote Future Proofing You and Disrupt You.
Yeah, I haven't read them, but I'm familiar with both those books.
I thought they were really great. I mean, that's really what you've done to our industry, right? And that's what Art of Homeownership is trying to do. We're trying to disrupt an industry that has, for however many years, mortgage has been around 80 some odd years, maybe 100 years. We've been doing it the same way. A person calls, says they want a mortgage, and here's your mortgage, and good luck. And there's no education really. There's just, here's your rate, here's what you get. And it's interesting when I think about how that has impacted our society in a negative way, because we give people something that they think is going to help when in reality it could hurt if they don't know what to do with it or how to get into it in the first place. And so, disrupting the industry is something that you've done and elevated or forced people to elevate. Otherwise, if someone works with a mortgage coach or Art of Homeownership professional and then they go talk to somebody who's not, it's not really a fair fight at that point, right?
Yeah, no, they're showing up to a mortgage coach who's showing up to a knife fight with a gun.
Right.
It is definitely a difference. And anybody listening to this that's not on the Mortgage Coach team, we'd love to have you. Just go to our website, mortgagecoach.com. I put a lot of love and passion into our YouTube channel. It's not live yet, but I interviewed someone who's been super successful at bringing new loan officers into the business. And was just like, hey, what's the first 30 days? What's the next 60 days?
Yeah.
So we're always trying to put content into our Facebook and YouTube channels. So if you like what you're hearing, we'd love to have you active in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel and our Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind.
Yeah, I would highly recommend those guys when you're working out in the morning. Great time to digest great content and really up level your game. I go there a lot. It's one of my favorite sites. But Dave, we talked a little about that book, Future Proofing You. Future proofing in general. We know the concerns that most originators have around the mortgage industry is technology overtaking their ability, using data to get to the client first. If you had to pick your top 2 or 3 things that a modern mortgage professional or real estate professional should be doing to future-proof their business and to ensure their place in this market and really have an abundant career, what would be some of those things you'd give advice for?
So before I give specific tools, I would write down the acronym for anyone listening to this. WACD. And in the specialty retail space, it's been an acronym for about a decade, and it stands for what Amazon can't do. So just write that down, and then I want you to write down, what do you do that Amazon can't do or won't do? And guys, they're not going to go beyond the transaction. When, and it's not a question of when Amazon gets to the mortgage space, it's how they get in. It's not if, it's when and how. And also, we need to look at the better.coms and the self-serve mortgage companies. They're going to grow market share. So you need to be able to do what they cannot do. And then the other side is you need to do what they can do. So like when you go into a Nordstrom's and they don't have what you want, any person in that room can go to a keyboard and go, oh, we got 3 in this store, or let me know and I'll press a button and we'll send it to your home. So they can do what Amazon can't do, which is be a cool, in-person, local human being. And then they can omni-channel a transaction and communicate with you. So first and foremost, audit your business. What are you doing that they can't do? And then, in terms of tools, obviously I'm Mr. Mortgage Coach, but even if I wasn't, it would be one of the top 3 tools that I would recommend to anybody and everybody. CRMs, there is no perfect CRM, but you need to use your CRM hourly. So it's not like, you need to have a CRM and your database is in it and I use it weekly. No, it needs to drive your day-to-day business. So pick your CRM. I'm not going to mention brands right now because I have a lot of good friends in the CRM space. You could go to our website and see all the integrations we have. And I always just say the best CRM is the one that you use, and it integrates with Mortgage Coach. But the definition is use it hourly. I don't have any equity in HomeBot, but I'm a fanboy. You know what I mean? And then, of course, art of homeownership, man. You got it all. You get into art of homeownership and you get training, you get culture building, and you get a lot of the best tools to go beyond the transaction. So those are some ideas and those are some high-level concepts.
Love that. Yeah, guys, when you think through what the modern mortgage professional needs to be doing, it is basically what Amazon can't do and what they can do. So figure out how technology makes you better, how to use the stuff you have access to, and then ultimately, what are you doing that they can't or will not do? And I promise you, that's going to be the commitment to the consumer. I've never heard anyone say, I got a loan with Quicken or Better or, fill in the blank, Costco, because they taught me how to be a more successful homeowner, or because they've committed to help me improve my overall financial life and reach towards a more financial free life. Like, this is never going to come at, it's never in any marketing. It's never a thought. It's just frankly not happening in our industry. So be that person, right? Be the person that makes a higher level commitment to the client and show them, look, if you partner with us, our commitment is we're going to help you do things that you likely wouldn't have done otherwise. And that will make you or save you 10 times the amount of money that you might feel like you're saving by using a cheaper option.
Absolutely. The only edit I would put, I did not invent the WACD acronym. You could Google it. Someone in specialty retail invented that about a decade ago. But I did invent add a Z to it for Zillow, because we're in housing and we need to do what Amazon and Zillow can't do. So the upgraded acronym for every real estate agent, for every mortgage professional, is WAZCD. And the loan officers that execute on that mission and vision will absolutely take market share for those who don't. So that, I mean, the war is being waged by, call it the tech-driven call center mortgage space, which is going to grow and it's going to do great. And then tech-enabled mortgage professionals, fintech-enabled mortgage professionals that are mission-driven. Like that's it. Be a mission-driven, fintech-enabled local mortgage pro. This decade will be amazing for you.
All right, Dave, last question here. So one of my favorite questions to ask any loan officer or real estate agent across the country is why you? Right? There's 1.4 million licensed real estate agents. I think there's north of 600,000 mortgage professionals. If you ask that question, if I'm asking that question, what do you want the answer to be? What should the answer be?
No. So by the way, are you asking me to answer it? Like why mortgage coach? Or are you asking me to answer it for a mortgage?
Assume you're a loan officer who uses mortgage coach. Yeah.
Got it. Well, I know that interest rate won't be a word in that sentence. I know how fast I close a loan won't be a word in that sentence, because I know all my competition is going to use competitive rates, close loans in X dates. I'm available 24/7. So it won't talk about how fast I'm going to do anything. It will be personalized. So if I was in a sales situation, I would personalize it. I would localize it. And let's just, I live in Portland, Oregon, and no one loves Portland more than me. No one loves helping families go beyond the debt. I want to be there for you to help you achieve your goals with real estate. I want you to experience financial freedom in a way that you've dreamed about. And so I'm going to ask you some quick questions, and so that I understand your real estate goals. I understand how you're currently leveraging debt and liabilities. And then I am going to show you how to pay off your home faster, how to have financial freedom beyond any dream you ever had before. And so it would sound something like that, but it would be local, it would be personal, and it would be about wealth with real estate.
Love that. Yeah, guys. I mean, it's really the before, during, and after concept, right? I mean, whenever someone asked me that question as an originator, I would always say, look, there's a lot of lenders out there that you could choose. The majority of our clients don't choose us because we're the cheapest. They choose us because we're the most valuable person in their life when it comes to real estate or finance. We help you before the transaction, we help you during, and we help you for years after. I'd love to show you how we do that. We have a phenomenal presentation, technology that will give you different mortgage options. We're going to educate you to make sure that you're making the most correct and confident decision. And then ultimately, we're going to, have a great experience throughout the transaction. But the most important part of your experience with our group is going to be our commitment to helping you be a very successful homeowner after the transaction. So that's why, I think we'd be a great partner for you. Let's schedule a time, go through the consultation, go from there. I think you have to really be confident in that statement. And what drives confidence in that statement is your ability to deliver. And if you're a mortgage coach user at a high level, if you're an art of homeownership user at a high level, and you have a really great system of loan fulfillment and customer service, you should have all the confidence in the world to take on Amazon better or anybody else with your head held high and with all the confidence and the commitment you can. So, Dave, anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, man. Hey, I love your heart. I love how you execute, Ryan. I love what a great advocate you are for loan officers going beyond the transaction and killing fee worksheets. You know, like so. Anybody that is saying, you know what, I want to help families beyond a transaction fee worksheet is on my team and a friend. So appreciate you, brother, and then appreciate you letting me come into your community and become more well known. And for anyone that's out there that's a mortgage coach, appreciate you. And for anyone that's not one, we'd love to get you on the team. You know, go to our website, ask for a demo. Uh, it's all good. Thank you, brother.
All right, guys. Everybody, appreciate your time today. Let us know if you need anything. Jump on board, coach, if not already. Dave, good to see you as always.
Take care, everybody.